雲戸ドラゴンは史上最強。お前らちゃんと聞け。
Alright, welcome to the channel. Thanks for pulling up. Today we're talking best new anime 2021. Now before I get into this list, 5 things I want you to keep in mind. 1, I'm only looking at new series. No AOT final season, no ReZero, no Slime, no Stone Wars, no Stone Ocean, no Beastars, no Evangelion, you get the gist. 2, unlike some of these other countdowns, I'm actually gonna tell you why each show ended up with whatever place I put it in. 3, Arcane's not an anime. 4, if a new show came out and it has 2 parts or 2 seasons, I'm just gonna judge all of it like it's one big ass season. All right, so I'm looking at you 86, you know what I'm talking about. And 5, last thing you gotta keep in mind, I can only judge potential so far. So for shows like 86, Ranking of Kings, I'm gonna have to take off a couple points just because the entire season hasn't aired yet. All right, that's how it goes. We know there's a lot of examples of shows that started off fire and ended up not so fire. I'm looking at you, Wonder Egg Priority. I'm looking at you, Gotta High School. I'm fucking looking at you, Platinum End. Anyway, enough talking, let's get into the anime. Honorable mention. Lowkey 2021 was a crazy year for new anime. It's a lot of good shit that came out. I'm not gonna talk about all of my, shows that didn't quite make the top 10 but were fire. I'm gonna just put some clips up and maybe I'll talk about a couple of them that I think deserve a little bit extra recognition. Like Sunny Boy, watch that shit on Funimation. Bottom tier character Tomozaki, watch that shit on Funimation. The Heike story, watch that shit on Funimation. Horimiya, I didn't really like that shit. I dropped it after 3 episodes, but other people like it, so you can watch it if you want. Talked OP Destiny, that's one of the prettiest shows I've ever seen. Yes, it's somewhat carried by the animation to a degree, but it's still a nice little, one of them Johns. High Rise Nation, avoid this shit at all costs. The show was terrible. This was probably Netflix's biggest L this year, I think. But Netflix is a volume shooter, so for every miss, they also have some hits. One of the hits that was kind of a secret hit, I didn't see it coming, was Super Crook. This was super entertaining. This is one of them shows that I was like, all right, I didn't expect you to be, this enjoyable, but you were very enjoyable. It's set in the Jupiter's Legacy type of universe. It's one of these subversive takes on superheroes, except in this case, we get it from the perspective of one of these low-level villains. And basically the show is just following this guy who wants to give up the villain life and live comfortably with his love interest. I'm trying not to do spoilers. As you're watching it, it's a beautiful show. They have some great animation. You're gonna get a little bit of Carol on Tuesday, a little bit of Great Pretender in terms of how it looks to you visually. I feel like I'm gonna recommend this show to more people than some of the shows that actually end up in the top 10. However, problem with the show is that as soon as you start thinking critically, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense. It has a lot of holes, and for that reason, it can't be in the top 10. For example, let's start for first episode. You barely have control of your power. Your power is electricity. Why would you go and make your first hero act at a fucking pool? Secondly, why do you not seek redemption? Why do I not see you struggling with the fact that you damn near killed like scores of people? That's a problem. 3, how is it that you're fucking a moron for most of the show, but anytime they need some mastermind Oceans 9 through 13 plan, suddenly you're a fucking savant? It doesn't make sense. There's a lot of lazy writing in the show. There's a lot of characters doing things when you need them, but not doing things that are true to the actual characters. So Johnny's not always consistently stupid. Carmine is like up and down. Even Case, it's those are the issues with the show. Not really consistent with the characters. Some holes, some things that don't really quite make sense in terms of powers, or people being able to detect powers. But honestly, I would recommend the show to a lot of people, man. It was definitely exciting. I'm sure it's gonna be in some people's top 10, but in all honesty, it shouldn't be. But whatever, I'm not gonna fight you about it. Go watch Super Crooks, Netflix. The other show I wanna highlight that was entertaining, fun to watch, but definitely not a top 10 show was the world's finest assassin gets reincarnated, blah, 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 aristocrat. Don't want to use the word generic. There's a lot of familiar feeling things in this show because it's an isekai, and isekai loves tropes after tropes after tropes after tropes that kind of build on themselves. But for this one, it's very well done. Visually, it's pretty. Some of the ideas are new or at least refreshing if it's stuff that you've seen before. It definitely kept me engaged throughout the whole time. So the story on this one is an assassin gets killed by his agency when he decides to retire. He reincarnates into another world with magic, and now he's born into a family that is well known, but moonlights as assassins for the crown. He has a task given to him by the deity that allowed him to reincarnate that said, look, there's a hero that's gonna save the day, but after a couple of years, the hero is going to be tyrannical. I need you to take out this hero after he saves the world and before he becomes tyrannical. I'm sure a bunch of people have this in their top 10, but the reason it's not going to be top 10 on this list is because it has some issues. One, the gratuitous fan service for the 12-year-olds. I know it's a staple of isekai, but it's always going to be a problem. It's always going to be a reason why I mark isekai down a little bit more than other genres. Two, Luke doesn't really have opposition. He's a very OP character for much of the show. He can make these detailed plans on the fly. He knows way more than everyone else. All of his plans come off perfectly. It's always tricky when you have an MC that's OP and you're not trying to do a comedy. Like, it works for Cautious Hero. It works for Bofuri. It works for Sakamoto. Trickier when you're trying to be taken serious. Oh, the fucking CGI horses were ugly. Such a pretty show with such ugly fucking...
You don't look right. Like, you nasty looking.
But honestly, it's a goodie. For once, we're not following a NEET. I come from Phantom Requiem for the Phantom, Black Lagoon. We love assassins over here. It's pretty as shit, as I said before. The scenes with the deity when he talks to the god does have a little bit of that no game, no life kind of aesthetic. His mother is a baddie.
Hit you like this here. Mine.
Like, but she's weird as fuck. She's very weird. Definitely recommend, but not top 10. One more honorary mention I want to talk about. Kimono Jihen. This was definitely my favorite new traditional shonen type of show that came out in 2021. Not gonna do the full synopsis in the interest of time. Definitely go watch it. It's gonna give you them Bungo Stray Dogs type of feels. First episode is 110% okay. Like, nothing special. When you get to episode 3, it starts taking shape. By the time you get in the middle of Shiki's arc, you're gonna be like, all right, this is a good show. And then by the time you finish Akira's arc, you're gonna be like, damn, I really enjoyed that. Watch everything I talked about as well as all the clips I showed before. Now let's get into the list. Number 10, Skate the Infinity. Great the Infinity. This show is fire. I think it's a Funimation exclusive. It is a Funimation exclusive. Definitely go and check it out. The story is about Langa and Reki, two friends who bond over a mutual love, almost obsession with skateboarding. It does have a little bit of that how heavy are the dumbbells type of feel, you know, and how heavy they would teach you about different exercises in each episode. It was partially educational. It kind of broke down in that show because they tried to do too much. In this one, everything is focused on skateboarding or how other sports relate to skateboarding. It was much more focused, much more enjoyable. When you go and watch this show, take it for what it is. Does the love hug defy physics? Yes. Is Adam basically Hisoka mixed with Akashi from Kuroko's Basketball? Yes. Doesn't matter. Show is still gonna be entertaining. The graphics are incredible. Dynamic cameras, glitches, everything you name it, you got it. Very rewarding finale, by the way. That finale might move you to tears. It wasn't, you know, I'm hard-bodied, so, but might move you to tears. Definitely recommend it. One of the best shows I saw this year. Skate the Infinity, number 10. Number 9, Komi Can't Communicate. In terms of new anime, this was Netflix's biggest W. Slice of life comedy about this ordinary high schooler, Tadano, and the most popular girl in school, Komi, who has crippling anxiety, so she can't talk to people. Komi wants to make friends. Tadano's gonna help her make friends, but she literally is petrified about talking to anybody. Off rip, I'm gonna warn you. Almost every single character is super exaggerated and over the top. It's one of the prerequisites to even go to the school. They mention it in the show. It's gonna be tough for some people. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. As far as slice of life go, this is one of the better ones. The comedy actually hits most of the time. Like, what they want to be funny is actually funny. Animation is beautiful. The idea is that it's so imaginative and so creative. The way they do misinterpretations of Komi's silence is really funny every single time. Lots to appreciate here. Yamai is extremely entertaining for me, but, you know, as I said, people are going to be annoying. So for some people, it's going to be a non-starter, but if you can get past that, or if you're used to that from watching anime for years, this is definitely one of the best shows that came out. Number 8, Tokyo Revengers. Fan favorite for the year. I saw so many Tokyo manji jackets, so many blonde wigs. The story centers around Takamichi. By all accounts, he's an adult loser. He finds out that his childhood girlfriend gets killed by a gang. One day, he gets pushed on the train tracks, realizes that he can go back in time. So he makes it his mission to try and change the events of the past so that Hinata can be saved in the future. His childhood girlfriend is Hinata. Intro song's a banger. Interesting setting. Time travel. People love time travel. Pretty captivating. So lots to like here. Mikey Drakenbaji, fun as fuck. I don't know how you feel about Takemichi, but I think we can all agree that he is not the main attraction for the show. When you're watching these episodes, you want to see as much Mikey as possible, as much Draken as possible. You even want to see maybe Kazutora before you see Takemichi. His decision making at times can be frustrating. I don't want to start up any big debates here. The animation isn't anything too crazy except for maybe like the last couple episodes. I expect a huge glow up for season 2. I think it's going to look much, much better in the second season. Tokyo Revengers, check it out if you haven't already, but I figure most people have seen it. Number 7, 86. This show is fire. Shin is fire. The Undertaker, the GOAT. Setting is kind of in a wartime. That's where it picks up. This is one of those shows that has 2 seasons in the same year. However, season 2 is still airing. I think I'm about 21 episodes deep in the show in total. And it has some production delays, so it won't come out until later this year. I have a sneaking suspicion that if I made this list a couple months down the line, 86 would be higher. It is what it is. Let's talk about it. You have the Republic of San Magnolia. It has 85 districts. Ruling class is these silver-haired people known as the Jessica Albas. It's just the Albas. Anyone who doesn't look like them or have their features is classified as an 86. They're housed in a different district and they're treated as second or even third class citizens. Fighting a war, full-scale offensive against these autonomous machines. Now, if you're in the military for the Albas, you're not actually on the front lines. You could qualify as a handler and then you give instructions using a power raid to 86 who are actually on the front lines fighting these machines. One young upstart, Lena Milize, that she's not for the fuckery. She sees the 86 as people, and she is a much more compassionate type of handler than anything they've seen before. But the squadron that we're focused on is this group of 86 led by Shin. He's the leader, the Undertaker. This show is really good about discrimination most of the time. Sometimes it's a little bit discrimination for dummies. I definitely enjoyed Teo telling Milize about herself. That's definitely one of the highlights of the entire year. One of my favorite fucking rants was when she made that mistake and he really told her about herself. For the first season, one of the biggest issues the show had was that they tried to cover too much ground, and so some of the emotional impacts that they wanted the audience to feel didn't land as well. So they would want you to feel really sad about a character dying, but it was pretty much, here's 10 minutes of this character talking that you just met for the first time, and then we kill them off. So I didn't really build up enough of a rapport to care when something happened to them. In season 2, they do a lot more development, and so things start landing a little bit better in season 2. Obviously, Frederica and how she ends up going on missions in season 2 is absolutely ridiculous, but she is a very necessary character, so you kind of overlook it. Would be another issue with it, but overall, very pretty, very smartly done, and I hope that they can pull it together because this is definitely a show I want to see where it goes. I'm waiting with bated breath for the next episode to drop. I think it's not coming out until March, but for right now, since I'm making the list December 30th, I can't put 86 higher than number 7 because I haven't seen all the episodes yet. Number 6, To Your Eternity. Story centers on this immortal being. Comes down first as an orb, then it can reflect and take the shape of things around it, so it becomes a stone, then it becomes moss, then it becomes a dying wolf, and then ultimately it becomes its dying boy. So really what we're watching is the transition of this immortal being from an inanimate object to a sentient, compassionate, feeling human being. Really, there isn't anything like this show, not directly at least. You could do some parallels with Dororo in from the perspective of, you know, Dororo trying to teach Hyakimaru things. But because Fu, who's the main character, ends up meeting a whole bunch of different people, it would, you know, you'd have to think about like, what if Hyakimaru meant a bunch of different Dororo in a bunch of different places? But also the way the story moves and its goals are completely different. So it's a very unique show. I give it a lot of points for that. It's also a very pretty show when it wants to be. Give it a lot of points for that as well. Very early on, I would say in the first 8 episodes, I thought that this was 100% going to be anime of the year. This is definitely a tale of a show starting off a lot stronger than it ended. Still has a good ending, but it ran into some pacing issues. There was a time skip that, at least give us a montage to explain what Fu was doing during the time skip. Hayase became this weird entity towards the end of the show. And I think probably the biggest hang up that made it fall so far down the list from, essentially starting at 1 and ending up at 6. Biggest issue I had with it was as you went along, you felt like the cast of characters either became more annoying or less interesting. So when it was Perona in March, that's like the peak. I'm all in. I like these characters a lot. The Gugu story, I liked Gugu. The way at the end, I really liked Gugu, but during, I didn't really care. Same thing for Rin. I didn't even like Rin pretty much the whole time. I don't want to talk about the latter end. I'll let you judge for yourself, but it's definitely a must watch. It was an enjoyable watch. I wish it ended a little bit better and had some of the pacing things resolved. I wish Fu realized that he was immortal for the entire show so that certain things didn't happen, but it is what it is. If you've seen For Eternity, let me know what you thought about it. Let me know if I'm bugging. Did you think that it ended as well as it started? Do you think it should be higher on the list? Do you think it should be low on the list? Number 5, Vivi. Oh my God, this was such a good show. First, full disclosure, I'm gonna admit to something I'm not too proud of. Took me forever to watch this show. I watched it at least 5 months late. Why? I was being a dumbass. I read the synopsis, said this looks fire. Then I looked at the thumbnail. I looked at the theme, saw it was music, said, nah, maybe I'll put, I don't know about that. I've been taught a lesson like this before. It took me like 3 years to watch Madoka Magica because I judged the thumbnail. Fooly Cooly took me like 5 years to watch it. Kill la Kill, I watched it a whole year afterwards because the thumbnail threw me off. Once again, I'm here to admit that I was an idiot judging an anime off the thumbnail. Vivi is incredible. It's a little bit of iRobot meets Ghost in a Shell because they have this kind of, I don't want to say a Ship of Theseus thing because it's not like you're removing parts, but there is this philosophical discussion going on about what it means to be human, what it means to have a heart. Essentially, the story is about the first AI created, and each AI is given one mission, one goal that they have to do. For Vivi, or Diva, it's to make everyone feel happy with her singing, and she has to sing from her heart. 100 years in the future, AI go crazy, kill all the humans. So, in a last-ditch effort, one of the tech guys, 100 years from now, sends back one of his creations to alter the future to avoid the AI apocalypse. I'm a simple man, bro. If you put anything AI in anime, I'm gonna like it, right? And if you take AI out of anime, then you're the enemy. Bars. I still got, I used to dabble in nerdcore. Vivi is great because it doesn't sacrifice the music portion, but it also doesn't overdo it too much. Everything is from the perspective of this AI. You actually see the subtle changes of her maybe becoming a little bit more human, referring to things such as anxiety, having concern for other AIs, having a sense of kinship or family to other models. Another thing that I really liked about this show is that it didn't want to get bogged down in the time holds, multiverse type of things, or the typical robot-human interactions. So you're not going to see any references to 3 laws of robotics. You're not going to have too much of a discussion about parallel universes. It's really just about Vivi's evolution. The ending is great. The ending is perfect. The ending is actually perfect. It's a perfect ending. It's the only way they could have ended the show. It was incredible. And in the whole show, I would say there's probably only one episode that was a little bit I can't remember what number it was, but there's an episode where it kind of gave me there was an episode that gave me Guilty Crown flashbacks. I know if you remember in Guilty Crown, there's an episode where the thing is spreading and then the girl has to come and sing, and it's like, oh, her song pushes back everything. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There was one episode in Vivi where they were definitely hitting you with that song over and over a lot. And, they were doing a little bit of that. Let me play the piano to make you feel sad. But, other than that incredible show, the graphics are beautiful. I think everyone should give it a try. Give it 3 episodes, see if you don't like it. If you do like it, thank me. I'll send you my cash app. Number 4, Ranking of Kings. This one's kind of tough for me to place actually, because I feel like there's a 93% chance that 5 months from now, I will tell you that Ranking of Kings is the best anime that came out in 2021. Unfortunately, at the time I'm recording this, it's 11 episodes out. The show has 23 episodes, so I really can't commit to saying it's the best anime for the year because I haven't seen all the episodes. But what I have seen so far, like, makes me pretty confident that this is gonna be my favorite show from 2021. I can't believe how good this show is. Like, it came out of nowhere. Everything's perfect in the show. The pacing's perfect. Main character is inspirational. Camera angles they use are incredible. The dynamic cameras. Oh my, every character has depth. Every single character. It's insane. For mid-tier anime, you'll have a bunch of cast members that are like Disney villains, where they're evil because they're evil. And then in top-tier anime, most of the cast will be like Pixar villains, where they're evil because of something. There's something that caused them to be the way they are. In Ranking of Kings, everyone is Pixar level character. Like, everyone has a reason, everyone has a backstory, all of it is compelling. Everyone has layers. Everyone is an onion. So the story's about Boji. He's this prince who is deaf and mute. He's a weakling, apparently, purportedly a weakling, wink wink. Basically, we're just following his journey as he tries to become the best king. I'm not actually gonna go deep in the synopsis because I feel like I shouldn't have to sell you on something this incredible. If I'm telling you that this is actually anime of the year, even though it's number 4, you just should go watch it. It's actually that good. By the end of episode 1, you'll understand why. It does start a little bit slow. You're trying to figure out what's happening here. But once you get through episode 1, at the end of episode 1, I know you're hooked. I don't have to say nothing else. Episode 2, when they do Kage's backstory, you know, Kage actually means shadow. I know that because of Street Fighter. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Every character is fire. Even that dumbass. Even that dumbass. I can't believe how good this show is, man. It's actually crazy to me how good this show is. And I didn't expect it to have some of the best action that I would have seen all year. Like, it came out of nowhere. It whacked me over the head. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve it. You don't deserve it either. Ranking of Kings number 4. I actually don't want to don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to ruin any of it for anyone. All I have to say, and also the comedy hits. Anything they want to be funny is funny. Anytime they want me to feel sad, I feel sad. Anytime they want me to cry, I will cry. I don't actually cry, but I feel like crying. Like, it's such a manipulative show. God, it's so good. Ranking of Kings number 4, but really number 1 in our hearts. Number 3, I think this is going to be number 1 for a lot of people. Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. I love the poetic justice of giving birth to the isekai genre and then coming on the scene in 2021 and saying, "Daddy's home, bitches. Remember your place. I'm actually the best." Not a huge fan of isekai in general, but I will say that most, if not all, of the things that make me not like isekai are addressed in this show and done very well. They show all of the emotion. They show the ties between both worlds. They show anxieties being passed on from your past self to your new self. They'll spend a whole episode showing how he scales up every single power, everything he learns, how he goes about learning it. He's fallible. Even though he's smart and he has all this past knowledge, some of his decisions lead to mistakes, leads to errors. We see him getting cocky and haughty when he has a bunch of wins strung together, and then bam, he gets whacked down because he fucked up. Graphics are incredible. Also, they don't waste a second in this show. They don't even have an intro sequence. They play the music and then they use the intro sequence for montages to help the story go along. And if they feel like, 22 minutes isn't enough to tell the story, they'll fucking cut the ending sequence and put more show in the ending sequence. I've never seen a more effective use of time from any show ever. Mushoku Tensei is actually that good of a show. You need to watch it. I think it is the most easy to recommend show of all the shows on this list. Like, it's actually that good and it's actually that enjoyable and it has mass appeal to anyone you could think of. So the story centers around this NEET, gets hit by a car, dies. reincarnates in a not really medieval-ish time, but there's magic. He has all of his knowledge from the past. He's super smart, and he also figures out certain loopholes and things that people in that world don't know about magic. So he becomes a really powerful mage at a young age. He's a pervert because it's isekai. They love the perverts. But look, you have to remember that technically this show is first, even though it's coming out in 2021, right? It's what causes all the tropes to come later on. So if you're gonna see a trope in this show, you can't call it a trope because it wasn't a trope yet. All of the familiar things you would have seen in isekai is also in this show, but it makes sense because all the isekai you've seen got it from this. So basically he reincarnates and we're just watching him navigate this new world. Really, whoever did the voice acting for Paul, Rudius' father, the main character is Rudius. Whoever did the voice acting for Paul should win a Nobel Peace Prize, win a fucking Oscar, win everything. He is so good. His mother is Zenith or Zenith if you're watching the English dub. How do you know that? Did you watch the English dub? I didn't watch it. I maybe watched like 2 episodes English. Shut up. This is another show that I'm not gonna sell you on. I don't think that there's much to be said. I don't want to get into this back and forth now, but based off the first 2 seasons that I've seen, definitely better than ReZero. I definitely enjoyed it more than ReZero. I'll say it like that. It's up to you to decide what's better, but I definitely enjoyed this noticeably more than ReZero. At the end of season 2, they have the nerve to say thank you for watching. Why are you thanking me? I should thank you. You should say you're welcome. Whoever made this shit, I know who made it, but you know what I'm saying. This show's incredible. Go watch it. Strong. I would say that my top 4 shows are pretty much interchangeable. I think you can make a case for any of the top 4 being best show of the year. So I'm really not gonna be mad if you say that Jobless Reincarnation is number 1. Only thing I would say is 1, obviously we've seen a lot of isekai, so it's almost ruined by the fact that so much isekai has come out already. There's some stuff that, isn't as fresh as it would have been if it came out when it came out. And also, Rudius is a scumbag. We will not be exalting Rudius. Rudius is endearing and charming in Rudius form, but when you remember his age and what he is, you should be a little bit uncomfortable with the fact that he's pretty much trying to fuck preteens and teenagers the entire time. The Holy Relic thing, he's a pervert. And if you actually know the manga, he's more of a pervert than you even realize. Anyway, let's get into number 2, Odd Taxi. Story follows everyone's favorite sneezing photographer / walrus, wink wink, Oddkawa. And he's a taxi driver. He gets wrapped up in this murder. So a high school girl goes missing. Eventually they find the body. And so the story is essentially slowly peeling back and explaining what happened. How did this girl get killed? What are the implications for all of the surrounding characters? At first, everything seems either loosely attached or not attached at all. However, as it unfolds slowly and slowly and slowly, it's all fucking connected. I think Odd Taxi would have been lower on this list until episode 13. This is one of the most rewarding shows I've ever seen in terms of slow burn that's not actually a slow burn, and then tying everything so perfectly together that you feel like a catharsis once it's all shown to you. So even if you predict some of the things in Odd Taxi beforehand, when it's revealed to you, you don't feel like it was cheap. You're actually excited by the fact that it was what you thought it was, or you didn't figure it out, and just the same way, you're still just as excited about everything that you're watching. Another big W for this show is the fact that they give you chances the entire way through. So there's a lot of reveals in this show, and they continually give you hints. From episode fucking 1, they are trying to see if you can guess what's happening. Most people won't, that's fine. I didn't guess it until deep into the show, so I'm not Superman. One thing I will tell you is that it's very rare, like off the top of my head, I've been doing this entire list freelance, by the way, I'm just kind of punching in. I can't even think of another show that tied everything in the way this was done. This is a true murder mystery. like episode 13 so good, like it's still on my mind. Okay, for those people who think that Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation should be number 1, please watch this show, come back to the video, and tell me if you think that I'm bugging for putting this at number 2. In my estimation, this was actually an easy choice. This show was very unique, very engaged, so enthralling. The only drawback I had was some of the animations of the car driving off, and of course like the interior of Arakawa's car. I think they do it on purpose. They make some of the lines more blurry so you focus on the characters, but it was not the most appealing thing on the eye. Writing was exceptional. The script of this thing was fucking perfect. Not all of the voice acting was on point, but I don't think most people will notice. Overall, top tier experience. Could potentially be number 1 anime of the year, but let me tell you what the number 1 anime of the year actually was. Link Click. This show is so good. It's so sad that I don't know a single other person who has seen it, because this truly was my favorite anime of 2021. The show follows 2 main characters, Lu Guang, who is very practical, very methodical, very analytical, and Cheng, who is a lot more emotional, a lot more impulsive. They both work at a photo studio. Lu has some predictive powers when he looks at photographs. Cheng can actually enter the photographs and go back to that time period when the photo was taken, controls the person's body, but when he inhabits their body, he takes on all of their past, all of their emotions, all of their feelings, everything. And so the show is going through various jobs. At first it feels episodic. He's going from job to job to job, the 2 guys. They have rules about entering. So you don't want to change the future, but you want to complete whatever the client asked for in the past. But as the show goes along, you realize that everything is linked. Every single thing matters. It's a time travel show mixed with a little bit of mystery, mixed with a little bit of psychological, which is my favorite genre in anime, psychological anime. The third partner is Kiao. She also plays a pivotal role, which is revealed as you continue watching the show. And probably my favorite thing about this show is that they hide the cards very well. So much like Odd Taxi, they give you chances, but it's very hard for you to pull the pieces together because you're so in the moment of watching everything. So sometimes even when you're trying to figure out what happens, you can't figure out what happens, but when they show you what's happening, you're like, I see what's happening. It's a Chinese anime. When you listen to the audio, it's gonna be Mandarin, but that shouldn't be a problem for anyone anyway. We're all sub, who cares? It's Mandarin, Japanese, you can tell that it's different, but you're still reading English subtitles. The way they brought everything together in this show is what really gave it the edge, and how unique it was to me. Art style is perfect, it's very beautiful. They even gave you a little Kuroko scene. I'm a huge Kuroko fan, so when they did that, it was, icing on the cake. Let me show you how crazy the show is, how crazy good it is, how intertwined everything is. They have one of those 7.5 or 8.5 episodes, right? So one of those episodes that's not supposed to actually be linked to the main story. However, even that episode that's not linked to the main story is linked to the main story. Literally everything in this show is connected. Super interesting aspect is when you get to dive in as Cheng and see how he interprets their memories and see how conflicted he is, knowing that he shouldn't try to alter the past, but because he feels exactly how that person feels, like, hey, this is my mother now. Like, I can't save my mother, or hey, this is my potential failure. I can't avert this failure. It's really, really impactful. Lu is also a very captivating character for one that seems so standoffish and so serious. You're also very invested in what he has going on. You see the relationship between the two develop or become frayed or get closer, all of that stuff. You really go on the emotional journey with the two, and the show is just really smart. It's a really smart show. So I think Link Click is definitely a deserved winner. I hope a lot more people watch it. I know season 2 is coming. Hopefully it gets enough attention, because I would hate to see a show of this caliber die out because it didn't get enough viewers. Anyway, that was my list. Tell me if you agree. Tell me what shows you enjoyed from this year. If this video does well, I guess I could make more. Otherwise, see you the next one.